All right. Analog Kid here. Thanks for tuning in for another episode of the Analog Hour. I want to take a moment to thank all the listeners so far and all the ones who has been supporting this podcast by liking and sharing wherever you can through your social media platforms. I truly, truly appreciate all the help and support. Um, Hope that we can continue making this podcast a reality, and I hope that we can all be a part of it. So, wherever you're listening to this, maybe YouTube or Facebook or iTunes, definitely show me some support by leaving a comment and telling me if you're into it or if you whatever you feel like letting me know. It definitely helps me to have a connection with you guys listening to this. So leave a comment and like and share wherever you're listening to this, and hopefully, like I said, we can make this institution that we can all be a part of here at the Analog Hour. So this week we are at the second week of March in 2018, and so far it's been a pretty cool year for me. We, my band and I, King Soul and the Vibes, are about to release our next single, and it's pretty cool. I can't wait. It's gonna come out next week wherever you listen to your music. So it'll be on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music, Amazon Music, all that jazz. You will be able to hear our next single. And in our single, it's like a mini EP. There's 5 tracks on it. And I make a remix. There's an Analog Kid remix to our next single. It's called Tierra Lejana, which means faraway land in Spanish. The original version was released in our last EP called Faraway Land, and now we just made a video for it, and we're releasing it as a single. And like I said, I'm also doing a remix on it, which is on the single EP as well. So definitely check it out and like and share that video and song as well. So you can help us out with what we're trying to do, create some awesome tropical rock music for you guys. All right. So let's get into the episode. I got a pretty cool guest coming up who is super talented and who is way cool. I started following him when I started following his band that he plays out here with in Los Angeles. He plays with Brian Mcshea and the Sidemen, whom I had a couple weeks ago here on the podcast. I had Brian Mcshea, and he plays drums for the Sidemen. And he is a really, really talented drummer, and I hope I can jam with him sometime soon because, yeah, he is just amazing and he kills it almost every time when he plays. He is also one of the founding members of a band called Naughty Octopus. And I started listening to them after I started following him, and they are super awesome. If you guys have Spotify, you can find their album there called, let's see, the name of the album here is Lost and Found, and the name of the band is Naughty Octopus. They play this really, really progressive fusion stuff that is at the same time very soulful and melodic and fun and danceable all at the same time. really dug Naughty Octopus, and I really recommend it for you guys to check out. So, without further ado, here is Sam Ward of Naughty Octopus, the Sidemen, and Beyond. Thanks for tuning in for another episode of the Our Analog Kid here. And tonight, I got a super cool guest. I got a really talented musician in the house who is in the same band as Brian Mcshea, who was here a couple weeks ago, and we had a little conversation with him. And he's the drummer of the Sidemen.
Indeed.
Introduce yourself, brother.
I'm Sam Ward, and yes, I'm the drummer for the Sidemen. I just recently moved out here to Los Angeles, so it's been a couple months now. October was when we got out here, so it's been great, man.
Did you guys go together?
The two of us?
Brian. Brian and you.
No, I didn't even know Brian in Boston.
No
actually.
shit.
Yeah, so the reason I met Brian was, I don't know if you know Jeff Kinsey. You know Jeff Kinsey by any chance? He's a bass player. He plays for this dude named Kobe, who's like Kobe is getting pretty big on his own, right? Like Kobe's he's a guitar player. He's kind of like a bluesy, like R&B kind of guitar player. Does his own solo stuff, and he's put together like a small band. So Jeff is the bass player, and they're all Berkeley dudes, which is how I know him. I don't know Kobe,
you went to Berkeley too?
Yeah, I went to Berkeley, a lot earlier than Brian. I graduated in 2013, so I actually graduated before he started, like right before he started.
Right on.
So I never met Brian before, but because of Jeff, and me and Jeff did overlap at Berkeley, and Jeff also overlapped with Brian. Jeff was
a common friend.
Yeah, exactly. He was a couple years later than me. We linked up like one of the first nights we were out here at the Hotel Cafe. It was like the singer-songwriter night on like the first Monday of the month or whatever. So I saw Jeff. Me and Jeff were hanging out, and Jeff had brought Brian to that show, and so that's how I linked up with Brian. Brian was like, "Hey, I got this thing called the Sidemen, and I don't have a rrhythm section for it out here yet because I just moved." And I was like, "Oh, I just moved too, man."
And you guys moved at the same month. That's weird.
Yeah, he got there like literally less
the
than
same
a month
town
before us. Exactly. Yeah. No, it was kind of serendipitous, man, to meet Brian out here, especially. Yeah, it was cool. And he's a great dude, and the music that he's got is great. It's like right up my alley. So it was like as soon as he showed me that stuff, because I haven't done that style in a while. Like we were just talking about the Naughty Octopus thing, and it's like it's kind of in that vein, but it's like it's got more punk rock to it. So we just did this dope punk rock show down at the Doll Hut in Anaheim, which is like apparently it's a well-known punk
it's a
rock
punk
spot.
place. Yeah, a lot of well-known punk bands came from there.
Yeah, I saw, I was checking out all the walls, and I saw stickers like No Effects and almost all my favorite
all these
bands,
skater punk bands from Orange County, DI started there pretty much. Yeah,
exactly.
It's been around for since the 80s, I think.
Right, the Doll Hut is it seems to be legendary. Yeah. So it was cool, man. It was just a dive, literally tiny little thing. I had never been there before because I'm obviously new to SoCal. So
right on.
But that gig was sweet because it was I was just so stoked to be in a punk rock atmosphere again. I mean, man, it's been.
So did you get into that scene when you were a kid?
That was how I got into music. It was punk rock. So it was
right
me,
on.
Yeah, punk rock.
I can't tell with your playing right now.
You can't tell.
I can't.
It's gone a long. Yeah, man, I've come a long way since the punk rock thing for sure.
Yeah.
And I honestly, it's funny because that's why I say I miss it because it's I don't really play that style anymore. You know what I mean? I don't. Do it
but
too
that's
much.
what you started out playing.
I started out playing punk rock. Yeah.
Oh, right on.
I mean, if it wasn't for punk rock, I really don't know if I'd be playing music honestly. And that's
oh,
why
really? That's your first love in music? Really?
Absolutely.
What bands were you into in punk?
So I mean, I'll be honest. I wasn't really into real punk to begin with. If you're a punk kind of aficionado, I was more of a pop punk type of dude. I like Blink-182. Blink-182 was where it all started for me.
So Travis Barker got you into playing drums.
Travis Barker, hands down, got me into playing drums.
Yeah.
Single-handedly.
I think he's playing with another band right now.
He's doing stuff with. I know what you're talking about. I can't remember the thing that you're talking about.
He's playing with I know. I saw him playing with it's a well-known group, I think. And
he's been doing this mix of hip hop stuff with the punk stuff, and so he's always had the thing with Skinhead. What's his name? I can't remember his name. Skinhead Mike or whatever, or no, Skinhead Joe. I can't now. I'm totally forgetting his name. But he's always had a couple projects that are these hip hop / punk rock things, and I'm forgetting the name of the thing that he's doing now. But yeah, I mean, I love his stuff, man. And he's
So do you grip the sticks halfway through like he does?
Oh, halfway through?
Do you notice how he does that?
How he grips it really high up on the stick. He plays a really long stick, so
that's why.
And I actually used to play his signature sticks. When I was a kid, I was so into him that.
So they're longer than usual.
They're a little longer than the average stick, just a little bit. I mean, not too much, but they're thick and they're pretty long, and they're I mean they're a lot thicker than.
It looks weird.
Well, he's his whole thing is I read one of his his only autobiography last year because I was I've always been into Travis Barker and I got out of it. I haven't really been checking his stuff out for a while and I saw that he released the book and I was gotta cop that book and check that out. So reading the book, I learned a lot about where he gets. I mean, he copped this whole thing and he started this whole style of punk rock drumming where it's there's really no actual technique happening, but he's still killing it. And it's really obviously that's what punk rock all is about. But it's
but he's full of technique though. I mean,
he's an amazing. That's the thing is there's mixed feelings about Travis Barker in the drumming community. It's if you go to Berkeley and you bring up Travis Barker, everybody will kind of be
poo-poo it.
Yeah.
But he does he did drum corps, right? Growing up.
Exactly.
That's
his
he's
big
really
thing.
Technical.
Yeah, so he's got the technique. That's the thing is people get on him for his tech because on drum set, now he's got good technique. He can play traditional grip, he can play matched, he can do all that stuff because of his, like you said, his marching band background, like he did in high school and stuff. So he's got, you're right, he has great technique, but when it comes to the drums, he purposefully, and then I read this in the book, I always kind of assumed this was the case, but he purposefully sets the kit up weird. He sets almost all the drums up so that they're actually angled away from him. And he changes this up over time. But he was the first guy I ever saw that had his snare drum fully
really
angled
high.
Away from him.
Oh, right.
And he's not playing traditional. So a lot of guys that play jazz
players
they would use that because you got to get that angle. But he's not even playing traditional. He's playing match grip, and he's still got the snare drum angled 45 degrees away from him. And he does it with the toms too. And he says in his book the reason he does it is just because what it does for him is it makes him play on top of the drums, which I totally get. It's back in the 80s, if you saw drummers like Neil Peart or whatever, and Neil Peart still does this because he's like an old school dude, but he's got like the wall of toms, like it's all like kind of horizontal,
like
you know what I mean?
him, yeah.
Well, not horizontal, but it's all vertical. It's all like
Yeah,
facing,
yeah.
So he like kind of hits the drums from the side almost, you know what I mean? But Travis plays on top. I like that too. Although like his drums, he plays like these Orange County drums that are kind of thinner, and he can get them angled away, and he plays them like off center from the bass drum, so he can he really gets on top of it. And he says in his book that it's all about he's like putting in extra effort. You know what I mean? Like to be able to play the drums like that, it takes extra effort from him. So in order to do that, he's got to put out like an extra amount of energy every night, and he wants to do that. He wants to work harder
to get that sound.
Just get that passion, and just because the way he kind of moves when he plays is what he's so well known for. He flails, and he's like, it's not bad technique, but for if you asked like a drum set player, they'd be like, oh, that's terrible technique. Like an old school dude.
Yeah, because for most drummers, especially learned drummers like yourself, you're always trying to get the most sound out of the least amount of effort, right?
Absolutely, exactly.
Right, you want to minimize or maximize the economy of movement for the amount of sound that you're getting, right?
That's exactly right, man. Every like teacher, like if you go study at Berkeley or whatever, or any I think real like drum school for that matter, or music school, they'll tell you like exactly that. You try to get the most out of the least amount of energy, which is obviously anything. Yeah. You want to be efficient.
So it's just it comes down to like the flicks of the stick, and and
it's all about the wrist and the fingers. You know what I mean?
So he's like doing the exact opposite.
He does a lot of arm. I mean, he's got the technique with the wrist and the fingers for sure. Like, I'm not poo-pooing his technique, but with one of his stories that he says is, I don't know if you know Max Weinberg.
Oh, hell yeah.
The guy that played drums for Bruce Springsteen.
And the Conan O'Brien.
Exactly, Conan O'Brien, Max Weinberg, 7. And he's like an old school, like total, like he's just like a traditional dude. He's he always plays traditional grip. He's got great technique, like impeccable technique. He's not a flashy drummer, though. Like, I don't go and watch Max Weinberg videos. He doesn't really. I mean, I think he's a great drummer, maximum respect, but I don't. He doesn't.
I think he angles his snare the opposite way too.
He does.
Yeah.
And he does it with the old school intention because he's playing traditional grip. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so with so I guess when Travis was pretty new at Blink-182, and on their first go around when they went to Conan and they played, I guess Max Weinberg took him aside after, and he was like, because Travis is probably 20. He's younger than I am now. He's probably like 23 then. So like he took him aside, and I guess he said like, he was like, man, you're a great drummer, like, but I want to be seeing you playing in like 10 years, and if you keep playing that way, like you're gonna get like carpal tunnel, you're gonna get tendonitis, and you're not gonna be able to play. Like you gotta angle your drums like flat or towards you, and like play with better technique and not use so much energy. And he was like, what Travis says is like, with all due respect, I respect the guy. He's a great drummer, old school. I do what I do, and I'm not gonna change it. And I know that, and he knows it. You know what I mean? But he's still gonna do it. And that, to me, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, and that's really what made him him. And what people knows, what made him famous, I guess, is that he developed that own style that only he has.
Exactly.
That, if he not copied but followed everyone else's advice, he'd be a facsimile of someone else, or a bunch of people.
You're exactly right, man. And to me, that's what music is about. It's about taking like a risk, even if it's not what your teachers tell you or what the past or history tells you to do. It's like that's how you got to get out of the box. That's the only way,
So I guess it's for you because you went to music school, so you've had a lot of direction into like what and what not to do. So
absolutely,
you actually had to like be conscious of what you're doing, like as far as like being artistic or just being safe and like.
Exactly, man. In fact, sometimes it's like, having gone to Berkeley and everything, and I think any music school would do this to you, or any type of like music education, to a certain level. It's like, it's almost too much at times, because like when I was there at the school, and I'm sure most people that you talk to that have gone to Berkeley or some other music school can relate, it's like you start to really, really second guess everything. And part of music, man, is like anybody that's listening to this is probably a musician or into music. You know, it's about not thinking too much. Like if you think too much, it doesn't matter how talented you are, or how many skills you have, or how much practice you put in. It's not gonna connect for you or the audience. You know.
Right.
So if you put too much thought in, and it's like that's kind of what music school is based on, is like thinking a ton about music. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like it's a weird kind of conundrum, but like catch-22, if you will. You know. But at the end of the day, if you have the right attitude and you learn the things that you're supposed to learn. And it's kind of like, you know, what's that whole thing? I forget who said this, but it's like rules were meant to be broken. It's like as soon as you learn the rules, you break them. And it's like if you can approach it from that mindset, you can learn the rules, really learn how to like play within the rules. As soon as you can do that well, you break every single rule.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And
like,
you do it the right way.
Exactly.
You can do it the right way, because if you didn't know what you were doing, you're just messing up.
Exactly. Exactly, dude. Yeah. So I'm all about that, and that's why I like punk rock, and that's kind of like why, you know, Travis Barker was so interesting to me growing up, is because nobody played like him then. And now a lot of dudes play like him. Like a lot of people copy
a lot of people definitely copied him because, it's definitely unique and it was powerful, you know, just like hard hitting like a fucking animal.
And like the other thing about him that nobody else did before him is the nylon snare drum, like the marching snare drum. You know what I mean? So he would actually play a marching snare drum.
No shit, like the big one?
Like it's pretty big, but it's big, but it's got the nylon skin, so it's so dry it makes like barely. It's like a really there's like no sustain to like to the sound. It's like really, and that's actually a sound that I really like. A lot of drummers will say like, you know, it's way too
really
thin.
different.
Right.
Like the marching snare is
it's
really
like very
different
thin,
from a drum set snare.
And it's very like high pitched.
Very thin, high pitch,
And I think it's dope. Like I've always loved that, but you know, I've never owned an actual marching drum. I didn't do marching snare drumming. I mean, I've always wanted to get into that, and I kind of like I've learned pieces on my own, but I've never done it in a group. But that whole sound was like brand new too. I think every drummer in the '80s was trying to get this deep like
like
the snare,
like a
washy with like reverb, and he was getting
gated reverb sound is what they call it.
Yeah. Exactly, gated reverb, and like he was getting this, you know, came out, and even the punk drummers, they were playing those same snare drums that the guys in the '80s were playing, but they were just hitting them, you know, more faster and just crazier, and it was just still that same sound though. And then he came out, and it kind of, I think what he did, honestly, now I'm just thinking of this, is like I feel like he came up with a sound on drums that really complemented the style of punk rock, because there's so much like, you know, like blast beats happening, so much snare drum, like really fast.
Right.
Like you don't really want to hear a ton of sustain in the snare drum. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So that marching sound works.
Exactly. Yeah. So I always dug that. I remember reading something, and I'm another punk rock dude, Trey Cool, the drummer from Green Day.
He's really good too, man.
He's great, and I love his style too. It's funny, he kind of, like, I remember in this article in Modern Drummer, he like kind of poo-pooed he was like, I like to tune my snare drum like John Bonham, like where it has some depth, unlike other punk drummers I know of. And of course, everybody knows what he's talking about, you know. But they're also friends, I think. So I'm sure it was but it's interesting to see how everybody's got a different opinion. I remember when Travis Barker came out with that whole thing with the marching snare sound, everybody that I knew was digging that. Like everybody wanted to get their snare drum to sound exactly like that, and that's what I wanted to do, you know. And then I ended up finding kind of a happy medium. Nowadays, I still, to this day, I tighten my snare drum as tight as it will go without
What
bending.
kind of snare are you using right now?
I play, right now I'm using my Spawn Custom. It's like a 14 by 5 like Spawn, which is
steel?
Like that one's not steel. It's actually 32 plies of maple. So it's like a fat like hoop of maple. And I bought that drum to copy Travis Barker too, because like he plays Orange County drums, you know. And I wanted Orange County for like this when I was 12 years old. Like I had an opportunity to get a custom snare drum built for me.
Like doesn't he use like fiberglass?
Yes. He uses acrylic and sometimes. And he does like he's done it on a couple tours, and he does maple and stuff like that. But acrylic he's done a lot. He just likes those crazy looking like Orange County kind of custom vented drums with like holes in them.
Those are really nice.
And they're dope, man. Yeah.
They're really nice.
I wanted a set of those, and I wanted, well, not a set. I couldn't afford that, but I was able to get a snare drum, and I wanted an Orange County. But the guys at Guitar Center were like, I don't know why they did this, because I actually, now looking back, I mean, Spawn's a great company too. I don't really know, but they're both really good. They talked me out of Orange County. They're like, go with Spawn. It's another Southern California, like, custom
Lesser
drum
known.
company, and they're very similar, but they thought they were nicer quality. I was too young to really know the difference, but got this really bright green. Wish I could like show it, but I got this really bright green, thick. I had them build it with as many plies as they could, so it's super heavy and thick.
Whoa.
5x14, so it's pretty thin, I just smacked like a Remo like coated ambassador on there, really simple, and put on like a moon gel, and the thing sounds, I wanted to vent it, which means put the holes in it like Travis does. When I
so you can actually do that after?
You can do it after, but I had the guys that were building the drum for me do it, because I just get to tell them whatever I want, and they actually said, they were like, well, we'll do it if you want us to, but dude, it's gonna be so dry, like you're never gonna get any type of variation out of the sound. Of this.
So that's why you do that.
Yeah, the venting.
So you didn't get any overtones.
Exactly. If you really want a dry, like kind of marching sound, you can do that either with a marching drum, which is almost too dry, or you can like vent it. Kind of get a thinner drum.
So that's what
thick
they do that
yeah.
for. I see.
Yep.
Cool. So after punk rock, did you get into any punk rock bands?
Yeah, so I mean, at that point, I joined a band like when I was. This is like, I started playing drums like real seriously when I was like 12 years old. So that was like 12 was when I like got my first real drum set. I'd had a junior kit growing up when I was like, I got one when I was 5, and I always kind of messed on it for a while, but I never took lessons. I never got serious about it. When I was 12, I was like, you know what? This is something that I've been wanting to do for a while, so I'm just gonna start practicing every day. And I don't know where it really took off. I think I saw some kid play at my school, and he was really good.
Oh, right.
And I was like, shoot, man, I'm gonna do that.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna start working on that, And he was like the only kid I knew that played. So I was like, I could be one of the only other drummers I know, So immediately you start getting other kids like, oh, you're good, man, because they don't know any other drummers. You know? So it's kind of like small pond, big fish. You know what I mean? Or not even big fish, but like medium-sized fish, tiny pond.
That's like the best days of music right there, if you ask me. Like,
yeah, exactly, dude. No,
it's like all fun and just like no responsibilities, just like straight up just fun.
Dude, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly, man. I mean, it was like amazing. My first band that really did anything was this band called Mission for a Minor, and they were the punk band. It was a 3-piece band. We wanted to be Blink-182, literally. I mean, it was like, my name is Sam, obviously, but we had Travis and Tom in the band.
Right on.
And they had, before me, it was actually Travis's twin brother, whose name was Tyler, and they really wanted to get him marked. They wanted to finish they wanted to have Mark, Tom, and Travis, but they couldn't find a mark. But Tyler was Travis's twin brother, and with all due respect to Tyler wasn't killing it on the drums yet. But the other two dudes, Travis and Tom, were pretty good, like a guitar and bass, and they were like looking to replace Travis's twin brother, but it was like they couldn't really do that and like tell his parents and everything. So he broke his like arm, unfortunately, one summer, and I had a show with my other little band that I had started, and we were opening for them. And they were like, dude, can you, like 2 weeks before the show, they're like, can you play with us? And we're like 13 years old, but like, can we play with us? I was like, yeah, definitely. So I listened to their music. They were finally playing, like my band was playing like really haphazard, like classic rock, like AC/DC covers, and I was just like kind of like fed. I was kind of done with that, and like they were kind of not that serious. And these guys were like actually serious. They were playing punk rock, and I was like, yes, I want to do this,
Oh, right on.
So that was like my first taste of playing like original punk rock, and we started writing songs together.
At 13?
Yeah, 13 was when we really started. And 13 was when we released our first album.
Really?
And then we released another one the next year.
Damn.
And broke up because we
2 albums.
Yeah, we did 2 albums.
14 years old.
And yeah, man. I mean,
Dude, I don't even know what was up and down when I was that age.
Yeah, I didn't either, man. I was lucky just because I met those kids, and they were pretty driven to like record music. And
so
like,
how'd you record the records?
We had a couple dudes in our town who I'm still really tight with, actually. This dude, James Murphy, who's a drummer. He actually teaches at Berkeley now. He's a drum teacher. And he was the Blue Man Group drummer in Boston for years. But he was like my mentor growing up, my drum teacher. And then this guy, Jack Tamayo. Oh man, if you ever heard this, that's not what his name is. That's not how you pronounce his name.
I think that's right.
Tomiolo, I think. Something like that. I could never get this. But these two dudes, they were like the mentors in town. They were two like really good musicians that lived like right in our town, and they had a really, really nice studio that like was reasonably priced. So like we kind of all got some money together and like got our parents to like get in on the deal and help us out, paying for it. And we were also taking lessons. I was taking lessons with James, and Tom was taking lessons with Jack, the guitar teacher. So they gave us a discount, like got us in the studio, and we did a full-length album. And yeah, actually before that, we had tried a thing where we had a dude come to my house in the middle of the winter, and he had a whole home recording set of them. We paid him like pretty cheap money to do like an album. We ended up not releasing it because it didn't really come out so well because it was middle of January, and the dude was like, "You gotta turn the heat off because like we're in the basement, and I'm gonna pick up all the heat."
Oh yeah.
So we had to turn the heat off for the whole day while we recorded. You know what I mean? It was freezing
in Boston.
In Boston, north of Boston. So, but after that, yeah, we got into this other studio, and they were like actual pros, and like we recorded 2 actual albums, and like they're still up online somewhere.
All right.
On
What's
MySpace,
the name of the band?
Mission for A Minor. So
Mission for A Minor.
it was kind of like a double entendre. It was like Mission. I didn't come up with the name, but it was like they already had come up with it before me. But Mission for a Minor, like because minors.
Right.
So it's like or minors on a mission and A minor.
I
like
get
the key. So
cool. Right on.
Yeah.
I'll try to find it later.
You can find it. I actually the other day I was looking it up because I wanted to watch some of we had some goofy ass videos on there. I hope I can swear on here. Is that cool?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I figured. We had some goofy ass videos on there, and I went up to look and show Nicole actually, and we couldn't find them. Well, I could find them, but they don't play. I guess whatever the hyperlink has expired or whatever. So it's like it's on MySpace, so it's like I can't see the videos. Still hear the music though. So.
Oh, right on.
But,
and Nicole, by the way, who you also play with.
Yes. Nicole's my girlfriend, my lovely girlfriend, who plays violin and piano and sings. And we have a project actually, which is we both play in the Sidemen together too. So we, I don't know if we said that yet. We were talking about that, but.
So yeah, she's the keyboard player at the Sidemen.
Yeah, so Nicole's the keyboard player of the Sidemen. She's also the background vocalist, and she's gonna be playing violin at our upcoming show at the Hotel Cafe on March 3rd.
Right
so,
and what's the project you guys are doing?
So the project we're doing besides the Sidemen, because we're both Sidemen and the Sidemen, if you will. You know, it's Brian's project, but you know, we're part of the band, but it's like it's not our thing. It's not our music. But Nicole's got like. She's got her own EP that she released a couple years ago, but we're working on a new EP for Nicole, but we're also working on our own project, like a duo thing, which is called Blood Sugar.
Oh, right.
So this is kind of new, and it's kind of in an infantile stage right now, but we're definitely working on building it up. This is definitely up in the air, but it's been a duo thing up until now. So we have a couple like cover videos up on YouTube you can find.
Yeah.
One's on my channel, one's on Nicole's channel, and they're like mashup covers. One's of we did a SZA tune. We did what tune was it? Yeah, and Jenna Aiko. And what were the 2 tunes that we did? I'm forgetting the name. I'm totally forgetting the name of the tunes right now. Wait, Rockabye. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, we did a couple different.
Nicole's here, by the way, and we'll have her on her own episode.
Exactly. You can't hear Nicole, but she's trying to help me remember things. But we did a couple of mashups they're all covers and stuff just to kind of test the waters, and we really liked how it went. Just the 2 of us. It's not, we don't have a bass player or anything, so it's just piano. It's pretty raw. It's like live piano, vocals, and drums. But it came out good, so what we're going to do, I think, like I said, I don't know, this isn't set in stone, but I think we're going to add a bass player, just keep it simple, like maybe just 3 people probably. We were thinking about doing like an auxiliary type of person, like instead of a bass player. I think for what we're trying to do, bass would be cool. Somebody that can maybe do like not only play bass but also do synth bass, like key bass.
Ooh, yeah, that would work. I can hear that.
So we got some stuff, and Nicole's got like just a huge catalog of original music, and I've got some stuff myself. Plus my own project, Naughty Octopus.
Cool. Are you guys recording that right now?
We haven't started recording yet, but we have a place to go to record it, so they're kind of waiting on us. Like, actually was talking to my producer Toft today. Toft Willingham is he actually just moved out here as well. It's funny how everybody I knew is moving out here from Boston.
Oh, right on. Cool.
Like literally just this last couple months.
That's awesome, man.
It's great. I mean, it's awesome.
More talent.
More talent, more people, more good people that I mean, I didn't know. I mean, I knew a lot of people out here to begin with, but it's like more people that I've been comfortable
that are
with.
actually like high level at what they do.
Absolutely,
which is pretty cool.
Toft is one of the best producers I've ever worked with. This dude's I mean, that's not his primary thing. He's like a guitar player and a songwriter. Plays with a band called Spiritual Res, which they've been pretty big for a little while, mostly on the East Coast, but really dope. Like they call themselves volcanic rock reggae.
Sick.
And it's totally that. It's like Hawaiian reggae, but with
dope,
this
dude.
Kind
I
of punk
love
rock,
that
thing.
kind of shit. Oh, dude, that's my kind of shit right
They
there.
caught my ear, man, when I was at Berkeley for the 5-week program, in 2008, I think, and I went and saw them. Just got nothing to do on a Friday night. Great band, but he ended up meeting Toft and playing with him and seeing Spiritual Res a bunch of times, and then he's become my producer, my go-to guy to produce when I want to record drums. So he works with some of the guys from AWOL Nation out here in the studio. Kenny Carkeet is the dude who he's I've never met Kenny, so he's just I'm gonna meet him soon, but I guess he owns a studio and runs a studio that they record some of the stuff for AWOL Nation or whatever.
Right on.
I'm not super clear on it, but that's what we're planning on getting into and starting the recording, and probably gonna bang out 1 or 2 singles first.
Yeah.
Do a video for them and see how that goes, and then go from there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sweet. Looking forward to hearing that.
So yeah, man, I'm excited about that. A lot of stuff is kind of in the works and getting going and kind of revamping it now that we're out here on the West Coast and with new people and stuff. But it's coming along, you know what I mean? So I feel really fortunate and really grateful to be out here.
Yeah, and I want to talk about the Naughty Octopus. That's your band out there in Boston, right?
Yep, Naughty Octopus was my kind of thing that, I started with my buddy Eric, who is my roommate at Berkeley for years, and he was also my best friend growing up at Pingree High School, which is where we went to high school in Massachusetts. And we started the band kind of in high school, but we didn't call it Naughty Octopus yet then. And when he came, when he was a couple years behind me, so when he came out of high school, he wasn't even sure. He's such a great musician, but he wasn't sure if he wanted to go to music school. Yeah. So I convinced him that, because he had been thinking about Berkeley, but he also wanted to come out here to go to USC. And I was like, dude, go to Berkeley. Come on, go to Berkeley. So he went to Berkeley. I think that's what he really wanted to do anyway. But we started this project immediately, Naughty Octopus, and it was kind of our dream as, we were both, we consider ourselves best friends. And it was our kind of common goal to create this instrumental, or not necessarily instrumental, but a funk. Yeah. We wanted to call it psycheclectic future funk. That was the name of the genre that we kind of coined for it. Because it's psychedelic, but it's eclectic. So psycheclectic was a word I came up with. And it's, it's definitely funk, but it's got all this kind of other stuff going on, punk influences. It's got almost Latin type of influences and pop kind of things, So we put it all together and built Naughty Octopus, you know what I mean? And
well, I gotta say, I really like your band, Naughty Octopus.
I appreciate it, man.
So what's going on with that right now? Since you
right now, that's kind of taken a break because it has taken a bit of a backseat, even though I just released the album this past summer, so it's pretty new.
Which is a great album, by the way.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate
that. Check it out on Spotify.
It means a lot, dude.
Yeah,
it means a lot.
You guys, it reminds me of, I don't know, to me, this would be a fucking huge compliment, but Snarky Puppy.
I knew you were gonna say that because everybody says that, and like what you said, every time somebody says that, I'm like, damn, really, man? Well, thank you.
Dude, I mean, for me, I mean, that would be a compliment because
huge compliment.
But yeah, you guys are really talented, and it's really deep musically and technical, but not in a cheesy or highfalutin kind of way. It's like fun.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
I appreciate that, man, a lot. No, I mean, that's kind of what we were going for, and that's what we wanted when we built it, which is kind of what I was saying with Eric, is that we wanted, we wanted something that was going to had like this jazz influence that was sort of like, what's the word? It was, sophisticated musically in some way, but also had that punk rock. Like, I really don't give a fuck what's gonna happen when we play this. That vibe too. We wanted to kind of meet that like halfway, like kind of have both extremes, And I think for the first album, and a lot, like I said, a lot of that stuff. Or I was saying that to you earlier, but we recorded a lot of that stuff like 3+ years ago, so we just released it, so it's new to people that are hearing it, but it's the music's been kicking around for a while, I just kind of finished it up myself, produced the record, and then with Toft.
You guys had like full-on horn section too, right?
We had a 3-piece horn section, which was kind of interesting. It all kind of fell into place at Berkeley. Like if you asked me what horn section I would have wanted, I would have said like a tenor player, trumpet, and probably trombone. But what happened was 2 trumpet players showed up who have been good friends with me since then, Neil Rosenthal and Ryan Stanbury. And Ryan's got this crazy Latin like high range, and Neil's kind of like more jazzy. That's kind of how I see it anyway, but it's more jazzy type player. And then this dude Lomar Brown, who played alto sax. So it was this really high pitched like Latinish horn section that it turned out to be, and I ended up loving that.
Yeah, it's different because usually it's the tenor, a trumpet, and a trombone.
Exactly. Yeah. So you got the trombone and the tenor for some lower like levels. It's normally that lower sounding horn section, but since we had, the lowest sounding thing we had was an alto saxophone. So it's like with the 2 trumpets, it's got this like almost Latin vibe.
Yeah.
But tough to keep together as far as like, pitch wise, kind of tough to keep it tight.
Right.
Because trumpets are, but those guys are killing. So it's like they did a really good job, and I'm so happy with how this stuff came out, especially since we were pretty young when we recorded this stuff, So it's took a while to get it together. But it's really, I'm really happy it's out, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon. We're gonna bring it back. So
yeah. Well, your style of drumming is definitely different from your punk rock days. So what led you from your punk rock days to going into like fusion and like funk and jazz and all that?
That's exactly right, man. It really is like it's come a long way, and it's like I try to keep that punk rock vibe mentality in there all the time, but I've definitely, like I was telling you when we were talking about Mission Fair Minor, I was saying how, that band, we did the 2 albums, and then what ended up happening, and this is kind of part of that band's end, but it's part of my musical development, is that like me and Tom, we both wanted to kind of change the music up. We had done 2 albums, which are like all punk rock, pretty much all distorted, like, power chords, just kind of crazy, like just punk, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then the second album, we threw in like a ska tune.
Oh,
and
really?
I remember we threw in a drum solo, and we played a cover of My Generation, like a really punked out cover of My Generation by The Who. And man, Travis, who is to this day, man, this kid, I have a lot of respect for Travis because he's a punk rocker. Like his kid's a punk. He still has a mohawk. He's had a mohawk he's like 27 now.
Yeah.
He's had a mohawk since we were 13. And
wow,
he still has a mohawk. He still wears his chains. Like he's a punk,
Right
and he was
on.
like, dude, I play punk rock. If you don't want to play punk rock anymore, then I'll respect. But I'm gonna go play punk rock.
Yeah.
So we wanted to play reggae, and like we were into Sublime at that point. So that kind of, me and Tom wanted to take it somewhere else, and we were like, all right, Travis, whatever, dude. And we kind of wrote him off like, we can find a bass player. But we later learned that it was not as easy to find a bass player as good as Travis, who was as kind of committed to what we were doing as we thought it was. And that's kind of the story of music, I feel like,
Yeah.
It's one thing to find a good bass player or a good drummer or whatever, but to find
someone that's
person that's driven, exactly, and that's committed to your project and committed to our project, if you will. It's hard, man. Not a lot of people like that,
No, especially if you're not making money yet.
Exactly, And he was so committed, man. He didn't care about the money at all. He just cared about his own artistic, integrity, and what he believed in was punk rock. But that helped me grow because I learned that punk rock wasn't where it was at completely for me, like that mentality.
You wanted to play something more.
Exactly. So we got into ska. ska got me into reggae because from Sublime that took me into all that stuff. I used to travel down to the Caribbean almost every year with my family, which I was lucky enough to do.
Oh, sweet.
So I got into reggae pretty early.
So
and
you got to witness some legit reggae.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely.
Some calypso and...
Yep. Calypso, soca, all that stuff. You know what I mean? Like all that really legitimate, like Jamaican Caribbean stuff. And so the island that we would go to is this place called Anguilla most of the time. I've been to like Jamaica and a lot of St. Martin and a lot of other islands, but Anguilla is this tiny little island. And I remember one of my first times going there, I had just started sort of playing drums seriously. And my dad had a couple rum punches, and he wanted to get me up to play with the reggae band. I was like, Dad, no. I was 12 years old, so I was like, man, these are like grown like Rastas, you know, like they're like pretty good like, reggae musicians, you know. And I was like, there's a whole crowd there, like everybody. I feel like everybody that was at the island that night was there, you know. And it's such a small island, but so I was super nervous. But my dad's like, no, you're gonna play. He's got his rum punch, you know. And he's like, so I go up and I play, and these guys were super generous. They got the drummer was like, yeah, man, play, yeah. And so I played like 3 tunes, and I'd never played in front of a live audience at that point before, and that was like just amazing, dude. It was just it was a magical thing, you know. And it was plus playing like No Woman, No Cry, which is always one of my favorite tunes by Bob Marley.
So you could do the reggae beat at 13?
The thing is, I don't think I really could. I think I played like a boom.
Oh, okay. So the kick wasn't on the 3.
Yeah, I didn't do the one. I didn't do the proper 1 drop. No.
Oh, right on.
No, I don't think I did. I remember
it worked.
But
You did the Sublime beat.
Exactly. Yeah, I did like the rockers thing. You know what I mean? And it worked. And the dudes were super nice. They were like, dude, you're so good. They kept. I remember for the rest of the trip, these dudes, I see them on the beach every day, and they call me Jammin' Sam, you know? So it was like Jammin' Sam.
Oh, dude, what an experience.
Yeah,
dude.
It was amazing, you know? So, and I actually just saw that dude. We went down to Anguilla, and Nicole and I went down a couple of years, just
and
like
you
2
met him
years
again?
ago. And I saw the dude, I can't remember his name now.
So he's all like old now? And
he's probably like in his 50s now, so he wasn't as old. I thought he was older when I knew him then. It's been, so it's been like 13 years or 14 years since then, yeah. So, but yeah, he's probably in his 50s now, and he's still playing reggae. He's still living on this, you know, the island's 16 miles long and 9 miles wide. 12,000 people live there, so.
Damn.
So, you know, it was cool to see that guy, and that was a big part of my development, too, because I realized reggae was big to me. And I think from there is where kind of reggae and all that stuff was kind of melding into one for me. I was getting into I was opening my mind more to like singer-songwriter stuff. I had a friend that Eric and I knew in high school that played a lot of like John Mayer, Jack Johnson type of stuff, and that hadn't been my bag really, but that kind of helped me playing more simplistically and like still had that like mellow vibe, you know, but it was cool, and it was different, you know, so it got me into some different stuff. And then going into Berkeley was jazz. It was like all about jazz. My teachers leading me into there got me into jazz. I started to pick it up. And then for a while it was just jazz. Like I was just a jazz player, you know.
Oh, right on. So who's your favorite jazz drummers?
It's a good question. I mean, actually, I've been listening to a lot of jazz lately because jazz is like, I've always listened to a lot of jazz, but I go through phases where I kind of.
But I gotta say this. I'm glad that you didn't lose your power, because when people go to jazz, like they just lose respect for that power, and they just start trying to hit it so softly and just like be so subtle about it. But I don't know. I want that snare to be there. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I love that you said that you want the snare to be there, because that's what it's about to me. Is like, you know, I've had a lot of people tell me they don't like my playing because I hit the snare drum so hard, and I hit a lot of rim shots on the snare. So it's like,
that's what I want.
Backbeat to be like fat, you know.
Yeah.
I actually recently had to work on not hitting rim shots because it's something that I just do naturally because that's the sound I want to hear. You know.
But if you're a rocker.
I'm a rocker. I'm a rocker. Really. At heart, it's never gonna change, you know. I'm like a punk rocker,
too, man.
Know?
Like that rim shot, like. But I guess it's a powerful thing, and I guess if you're used to rock, you're used to that power, and then if you don't hear it anymore, like it's something missing.
That's the thing, man.
For me,
dude, absolutely. And to me, it's like when it comes to jazz, it's like it's all about the respect of just music in general, and a lot of great jazz musicians know like everything. Like they'll know. you know, Indian like rhythm. They'll be able to count. They'll be able to count in like the whatever. What's that?
Time signatures.
Yeah. Do the Indian counting thing, and they'll be able to do like you know, kind of Cuban rhythms. They'll know everything. Jazz musicians tend to be really well rounded. And so that's what got me into jazz, because I knew that if I learned jazz, it would kind of help build out everything else. You know, it would kind of help me develop everything.
Yeah, I mean, they pretty much practice everything, especially modern jazz musicians. They pretty much do all the styles.
Right. And you're right, though. I think it does take people's. I mean, I think some people get a little too lost in that whole thing, where it's like they want to be a jazz player more than their actual spirit wants to be a jazz player. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you end up,
that.
just kind of silencing yourself, if you will, like you were saying.
Because all those other people said you got to do this and you got to do that.
It's like, oh, this is the right way to hold the sticks, and if you're playing like this, you're playing too loud, you know. And it's like, well, that's all kind of true in some cases, but it's like there's never one size that fits all for music. You know that. We all know this, you know. And so it's like really important to, I think, even in the best, like Tony Williams. You were asking me one of my favorite jazz drummers. He's one of my favorite jazz drummers. Elvin Jones. I mean, I love. I mean, those two guys.
How about Art Blakey?
Art Blakey, man. I love Art Blakey. Yes, he's one
If you
of my
ask me,
favorites.
he's like the first like crazy dude on the drums. Like
He really
like before Keith Moon or any, like, you know,
Really?
Art Blakey, dude. Like before, I don't know. He just did some crazy shit before anybody did, man.
He was wild, man,
Yeah.
because he was the band leader too. So he was kind of the leader of the thing, and he was like a wild drummer. He was like a crazy good drummer, crazy, almost like border. I mean, some of those guys that I love are like you were mentioning Keith Moon. He's like really a sloppy but great drummer. But like Art Blakey's like, as far as a really like precise jazz drummer goes, he's about as sloppy as they get, but in a good way. You know? Like, and I love
That's where you
that.
get all the attitude.
And that's what I'm talking about, is like, to be a jazz drummer, you don't have to be quiet and like, oh, I'm wearing a suit and tie and I'm being conservative. It's like, to be a good jazz drummer, I mean, you're gonna speak, you know what I mean? Speak on your instrument.
Yeah,
you know?
Art Blakey, like Max Roach, dude. They got down, dude. They got down.
Dude, those guys are gangsters, man. Those guys are straight up. Like Max Roach is one of my favorites too. Honestly, in all honesty, I should probably do more research. I've done a lot of research on like Tony Williams. I've like done my kind of history and like kind of studied a lot of done a lot of transcribing of Tony Williams and Elvin Jones, but not so much of Max Roach. I got to go back to Max Roach and do some more study. But I love him, man.
Yeah, I mean, he goes off, dude. He doesn't let like being conservative
not at all
hold him back, you know.
Well, he's one of those originators, man, with Charlie Parker. You know, I mean, he was one of the first guys that was like kind of really playing that bebop sound and like kind of displacing the beat. And playing like a ton of syncopation, and he kind of took jazz. He wasn't like it's not like he's the first jazz drummer, but he took jazz to like that. I feel like he was one of the guys that took jazz from the big band to like to the small
new level,
thing.
next
Exactly.
level thing.
And he really did it well, because like when you give that dude a solo, I mean, it was just it was wild but super precise, like you're saying. You know what I mean? It's that perfect balance that we're talking about, and it only works a certain way for each individual. Like it's not the same for everybody, you know, but for each person, finding that perfect balance between like just kind of going crazy and being super precise, that balance between technique and just flailing, you know what I mean? And to me,
exactly.
Finding that spot is what it's all about.
Yeah, and that's where your style comes into, you know, like where you decide you want to be on that scale, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
How crazy you want to be or how conservative you want to be.
Exactly, man. Yeah. And I think for me, one of the things that I've learned is like, as a drummer, is like is going back to that punk rock mentality, like you were saying, is really big for me, because when I think too much about am I being quiet enough? Am I being the drummer I should be, quote unquote? You can't see my quotes, but I did quotes. But you know, my being the drummer I should be for this gig, you know, because I've done a lot of GB, general business stuff now, where I have to do weddings and you have to play however if they want you to be quiet, you gotta be quiet. If they want you to be louder, you want you to be louder, but they rarely want you to do that. If they want you to solo more, you solo more. They rarely want you to do that too. But if they want you to play less, you play less. You know what I mean? So and that's been really good for me. But at the same time, I have to, you know, one of the things I constantly have to remind myself is to just not give a fuck, you know? Like sometimes, you know what I mean? You have to care, and you have to, when you take a gig, you have to, you know, put your all into delivering for that gig.
Right.
But what I think I've learned more recently is that if the gig doesn't seem like something that I'm going to want to or be able to put my all into, then I'm not going to take it. You know what I mean? I'd rather really take less gigs that I can put more into than every single little thing. Right and not have my heart like 100% there, you know?
Yeah, right on. Cool. Yeah, I mean, especially for a musician, because a lot of the time you'll take whatever you can get, you know, because it's not that easy to work as a musician. But having that integrity ultimately makes you want to be there, and ultimately makes you play better.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, and it's going to sound better.
Absolutely. I think you have to have that integrity to a degree. I mean, we all are trying to make a living and stuff, and like I'm trying to do the same thing. So I take gigs that aren't my cup of tea all the time, but as long as it's music and it's something that, you know, I think that's being done for like somewhat of the right reasons, and it's like we're making music to make music, you know, and there's not too many ulterior motives, and we're all kind of. And if the people are good people, and if I can like really see eye to eye with the people, and we kind of connect. It doesn't have to be the music that I like. It's more about the vibe, you know, and I'll play it, you know what I mean? But at the same time, like you said, if the vibe's not right, the people aren't cool, if we're not having fun playing music, even if we're making a bunch of money, you know.
You're not into it. Yeah.
I'm out, you know. I don't know. It's just I think that it's not gonna work for me anyway.
Right.
Like at some point on the line, it's gonna kind of fall apart for me.
Yeah.
So I may as well be out to begin with, you know.
Right on.
I'd rather do something I care about, and I think put my all into it, you know.
For sure. So right now, what are you up to musically?
So right now, the primary things are the Sidemen, which has 2 upcoming dates. I think is it just 2? Yeah, just the 2. So 2 in this coming month in March. March 3rd
at the release party, right?
Yeah, March 3rd at the Hotel Cafe is our EP release party. So Saturday, March 3rd. Yeah, super excited about that. Nicole's gonna be my girlfriend here. That's here is gonna be playing violin, doing a duet with Ada Pasternak. Is that how you say her name? Ada Pasternak, and she's really killing. She's went to Berkeley as well.
Oh, cool.
She's had a song that did really well these past couple of years. So it got like I think 1 million+ streams or something like that on Spotify.
Oh, wow.
But she's I think headlining the show or playing on the main stage before us, and we're playing on the second stage like after her. So it's gonna be fun, man. I love the Hotel Cafe. It always seems to draw a good crowd.
Yeah,
it's gonna be fun. We also have something at the Escondiit, which is downtown LA on St. Patty's Day, and that's like an afternoon kind of like matinee thing.
Right on.
With Sidemen. It's gonna be a little different than what we do at the Hotel Cafe, I think, but like longer and probably more covers and like a little bit. More time between tunes, less of a show and more of like a gig, you know.
Right on.
But so that's what I'm going on with the Sidemen as far as like gigs, and then I'm doing a couple, you know, one-off gigs with people, like kind of a couple different projects. Like there's a band called the Phoenix Rising that I've played with a couple times out here. They're a really cool like rock and roll band that's based in like Hermosa Beach. Done a couple of gigs with them, not playing with them regularly, but just one-off gigs with people, and then mainly working on, for me, it's recording. So I'm really wanting to get Naughty Octopus back together.
Sweet.
So I've got a couple people in mind, like some of the guys.
Get them to come out here in California?
Unfortunately, I don't. Well, Eric, the dude who was my like partner with the band, is planning on coming to California. He's actually from Santa Monica. He was born in Santa Monica.
Oh, there you go.
So he's planning on. He said he was gonna move out here in October, and he hasn't done so yet. So I'm kind of seeing if he's gonna do that. We haven't been in like super close in touch for a little while, just because he's been super busy with his own work. He's been doing a lot of GB stuff in Boston, and I was doing my own GB stuff. And then I moved out here. So we had some different stuff going on, but he may come out. The other guys are East Coast. They're I think they're staying on the East Coast. So I think
you're gonna have to reform a new band.
It's gonna be a new thing, and it's gonna be this totally same mentality, the same intentions, but different people. And,
well, I really dig it, man. Hopefully that happens, and you guys reform it here.
It will happen, and I'll definitely keep you updated on it because it's gonna be, it's definitely got some work to go. But really, what my first plan is because we haven't really been able to have a chance to support these tunes that are on the album. So I want to get a band together, just learn what's on the album. Maybe.
So yeah, check it out. I found it on Spotify. Naughty Octopus, Lost and Found. Where else can they find it?
Yeah. So Lost and Found is the name of the EP or the album, EP album, kind of whichever. It's a little bit long for an EP, but Lost and Found. You can find it on Spotify. You can find it on Amazon Music. You can find it on Apple Music. I don't think iTunes is a thing anymore, but Apple Music. I think that's it. You can get, I think, like Pandora, I think it's on there. But if you go to my website as well, which is samwardmusic.com, you can find videos of some of the live performances we did back in Boston, which are, still some stuff I'm pretty proud of, and, and find the album on there as well. So.
Yeah, definitely check it out. Some cool music. Where else online can they find you? What's your social media stuff?
So as far as social media, so you get the website and everything, and then as far as social media, I'm at Warden on drums. So that's WARD, my last name, Ward, and then EN on drums. So Warden on drums. And I got that name, a little short story from some dudes. Do you know Harry Foster by any chance? Another dude that lives out here. He lives actually in this area. He's a really killing bass player that I was in a band with at Berkeley called Los Bandoleros. We called it neo country. It was like this really new kind of country stuff, like Johnny Cash on steroids or like on speed or whatever. It was like crazy.
Was it fast country?
It was like fast but still old school country style, like with a lot of marching, like kind of train beats, but really like kind of like indie, like reverbed out. You know what I mean? Like and rocked out. So I really liked it. We never did much with the band, but Harry is a good friend of mine. Also, Sam Small, who was in that project, who lives out here also. I'm actually going to be recording on his album coming up, too. It's another thing, but we don't have a plan set for that. But my whole point to that was that, what was my point? Oh, yeah, the original name of the Warden was that in that band, like it was this whole country vibe, and they were like, dude, Sam Ward, you're the Warden, man. The Warden. And I was like, and I didn't really think much of it. I never took to the name really. But then, like a couple months down the road, I had another band. The guys were like, dude, you're the Warden. And I was like, all right, this might be a thing. And then, like every band I've been in since then, almost.
Dope. You're the Warden,
without me even saying a word. So I'm the Warden, I guess.
There you go.
Yeah.
So Warden drums.
Warden on drums.
Warden on
Warden
drums.
on drums. That's my Twitter handle and my Instagram handle. And then if you go to YouTube, you just look up, it's Warden on drums, I believe. Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, is it Warden on drums? Yeah. YouTube.com/Warden on drums. Yes.
Yeah. Cool. Check them out online. You'll see some fucking awesome drumming.
Dude, thanks, brother. I really appreciate you having me.
Well, I appreciate you coming out, man.
It's been a real pleasure talking with you.
Thanks for coming out, and hopefully, we can make some music too sometime.
Dude, let's do it, man. I'm super down.
Down to jam. Let's
got
jam.
a space in Hollywood with plenty of room, so dude, let's do it. Seriously.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I'll definitely hit you up, and maybe we can make a collaboration or something.
I would love to, man. I dig the vibe of the podcast, so I wish you the best of luck with this.
Oh,
man.
Thanks,
this thing
man.
is great. I really like
thanks.
it.
And hopefully, I can see you guys sometime soon at your show.
Definitely, man. Yeah, come out if you're free on the 3rd. Come out to the Hotel Cafe. Maybe we can get you on. I don't know what the list is like, but if we can get you on there,
yeah. That'd be cool. That's your single release party.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you're gonna have a bunch of those, right? Coming up.
Yeah. So I think Brian's whole idea is to have like a series of single releases. So he's gonna release like one tune from his album at a time. I didn't play on the album, so it's not. It's all music that I'm now really familiar and close with, but it's not. I wasn't part of. There's another drummer on the album, so we're gonna be doing some new recordings soon. But I'm now the new drummer for like the live performances.
Cool.
But yeah, man, I'm stoked. He hasn't really had a chance to, just like I haven't with the Naughty Octopus stuff. He's finally getting his chance to air the music out to a live audience, and I'm stoked for him, and I'm stoked for to be part of it. So it's gonna be really fun. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm glad to have met you guys, and glad you guys are out here and
thanks,
making
bro.
music out here in California.
Same to you, man. Yeah, this vibe's really chill, so I appreciate you having me.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. I got Sam Ward, and any last words?
Man, just thanks for having me, and yeah, check out all the stuff that we mentioned. Naughty Octopus, that's the one thing I'm gonna hopefully build that name out soon. So that's really it, man. Thank you for having me.
All right.
And yeah.
Thanks again.
All right, tune out. Peace.
All right, peace.